Good morning. Yesterday we left off with elevations, and here's my finished product of my elevations. After you finish your elevations, good idea to group them together so that you can move your elevations around like so. Okay, you'll need to do that, especially when it comes to getting ready for printing. So make sure you do that. And before we start dimensioning, I am going to do two things. I'm going to turn off my roof to get the roof out of the way. We don't want to dimension the roof in this phase. We'll do that one later when we do our actual elevations. So what I'm going to dimension right now is my floor plan. There we go. And a couple of things you want to do before you start dimensioning. One is to go down here and right here where my scale is at, down here at the bottom. If you click on that pull down arrow, you can change your scale. Change your scale to 1/4 inch equals 1. And that's typically what you're going to do. You may be working in a different scale or what have you, which will change the way that you set your dimensioning up as well. But right now we're going to set up for 1/4 1. I'm going to go up here to the annotation panel, click on the drop down menu, click on the dimensioning icon right there, and I'm going to select, put it on annotative, and then I'm going to modify, or actually set current and then modify annotative. And we're going to fix a few things in here. First thing is our primary units. We're going to change unit format to architectural. We're going to go to text and change our text height. Now text height is something we may have to play with a little bit. I set mine for 1/8, which does fine. Depending on other settings that you may have changed in your computer, which I've seen it done, and I do not know why it does this, but I can set mine for 1/8 on this computer and go over to someone else's and set theirs the same way, and the text size comes out different. But you may have to play with that just a little bit depending on whatever other settings may have been changed in the past during your design, I think, anyway. But anyway, so right now I have it for 1/8, so go ahead and try that first. And then of course your symbols, arrowheads, it just says arrowheads right here in this box right here, but you change your indicators, your execution points for your dimensions with one of these different symbols. And of course, and my computer is updating or something, there we go. Architectural tick is what I set this at. Okay, and I just set everyone else architectural tick. And these are just different. And actually the leader, I'm going to change that to arrow. Okay, close filled arrow. And arrow size, I'm just going to leave that the same at 3/16 of an inch. That's fine. And then I'm going to click OK because I believe I forgot everything else. And then close. All right, now dimensioning your floor plan. When we dimension by hand, we're doing pencil and paper. We would, we set like a distance, like that very first line away from your house. Now remember, there's 3 lines of dimensions there. That very first line, the one that's closest to the house, is your doors and windows. The second line right after that is your major walls, which means any breaks or any walls that come in contact with the exterior walls. And then of course that last line, which is the overall dimension. When we did that on paper, we started out with 1/2 inch away for that first line, for that doors and windows line, and then 1/4 inch for each additional line. In AutoCAD it's a little bit different because we don't have, if you set it so many inches away, then it's going to be very, very close, and you won't really be able to see what you've dimensioned there. So another little set of rules for AutoCAD is that first line that has your doors and windows on it is at 4 feet away. The second line that has your major walls is 6 feet away from the house, and then the third line that has your overall dimension is 8 feet away from your house. Now, typically when I draw, I start with my overall dimension first, and I place that first. So that would be 8 feet away from the house. Now, where do you put that exactly? Like here, I have 3 different depths of the front end of my house here, or the south side of my house. I'm going to choose this to be kind of my baseline right here, this part of the house, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to choose linear dimensions right here. I'm not going to choose this one. This one does a lot of automatic stuff that can get you in trouble unless you're really used to it. I just always like to choose exactly which one I want to use, one of these like this. So right now I'm on linear, and I'm going to click on the furthest left extent there, and then I'm going to go over here, and I'm not going to click on the furthest right extent. I am going to pick up that geometry though and drag my line straight and then click. Okay, and then you see how I have my line here. Now, in order to set this 8 feet away from the house, you really have to be thinking in X and Y here, especially when you get around to your east side, your north side, and your west side, because they're going to kind of turn on you. But I'm thinking in my X and Y. Now I'm moving this line, I'm just moving it in the Y direction, and I'm actually moving it in a negative direction. So if I'm going to set this line at 8 feet away from the house, I am going to first hold the shift button and then click the @ symbol. Okay, just like you would do in an email or something. And of course that first box is my X axis, and I'm not going anywhere on my X axis, so this is 0, and then I tab over to my Y axis and type -8, and probably put foot on there would be a good idea. Okay, so now I'm 8 feet away from the house. Now my next line is going to be my major walls. So again, I'm going to start it right here, and I'm going to go to my first feature right here, and I'm going to do the @ symbol again, and I'm 0 in the X axis, and tab over to the Y axis, and I want to be -6 feet right there. Now I want to continue that dimension all the way across the front here, so I just click on it to highlight it. I hover over one of these grips, and you see I get some extra commands here, and what I want to choose, if it'll let me, it kind of does that. You really should be able to go over here and click in that box to select what you want to do, but instead it's not letting me do that. So I'm going to just type continue, I think. Dim continue right there. So if I type, you can actually type dim continue or just continue, and you'll probably find it. Alright, so it's going to let me continue, and I'm going to find my other major walls here, and now I can click here if I want to. It's not going to change the angle of my primary dimension line. The only reason I did that on the first one was so it would not set it at an angle, because it will do that. Okay, so now I have all my major walls, and remember, the exterior walls you want to hit on the face, the outside face of the wall is where you want to measure to. If you're measuring to an inside wall, you'll want to measure to the center. Alright, now my next line is going to be my doors and windows. So again, I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to take it to my first measurement. Now right here we have a garage door, and you know, you'll see doors and windows measured differently on different plans and whatnot. Typically we always go to the center of a window or a door and measure that. Then of course you might see the whole, you know, each side, each edge of the window and each edge of the door measured. Now the garage door, because it is so large, I do measure that from end to end. So I get this first measurement right here, and I am going to click, what am I going to click here? I'm going to click on the @ symbol, 0 in the x-axis, tab to the y, and we want -4 feet right there. And we're going to continue this dimension and we're going to dimension the whole garage door from one side to the other. After that, we're just going to dimension just the center of these windows. Now this is a double window, so I'm going to hit the center of each one of the double sections here, and then of course the center of the door. And that's not like a rule, you know, written in stone or anything like that. That's just what the way I do it and the way a lot of people do it. And type in dim continue so we can continue our dimensions, get the other side of that door, and then the wall here. Now I just want the center of my windows. Now here, because it's grabbing the center of this double window, which I really want to get both centers here and center there, and it looks like I'm just going to have to kind of eyeball that, get there, and let's see, get it right there. Okay, so that gets the center of each one of those. Now I could have also went and done each edge or something like that. It varies. It really depends on who you work for, what company, what their standards are, and things like that. And then to the very end. Alright, so now my front is totally dimensioned. You may have to double check some of your text here, your numbers, your values, and make sure that you can read them all. Like this one here, I might want to move that just a tad. Let's see, if I put it here, it might be confusing. Let's see. It might be. So what I'll do is I'll go with what they had. I'll pull it down here. Now I want to set that where we can see that line right there, so we can see that this line has to do with this text, and then follow that line, and it has to do with that measurement right there. Okay, so now the front of my house is completely dimensioned, and all you have to do is switch around and do the other sides. And I'm going to show you real quick how the XY works here. If I flip over to this next side that I'm going to dimension, and let's say I'm going to first do my overall dimension, and this is where your XY kind of gets confusing. So click here, and then I can click here because they're the same distance away from, I guess, the root there. And now here I am pulling away. I'm actually going in the X direction. Now remember, I flipped my house. I flipped it this way. Okay, so I'm actually pulling away in the X direction. So when I do the at symbol, I'm going to type -8 feet, but I'm not going anywhere in the Y direction. So I tab over there and type 0 for Y. And actually I should have done a +8. Let me do that over and show you again how to do that. Sometimes I still misinterpret that. Okay, so at symbol 8 feet, because I'm going in the positive direction of the X-axis. Tab 0, enter, and there we go, 37. One other thing I want to do is I want to change my numbers. I don't know why this one shows up like it is here, where here all my numbers are above the dimension line. See, all the dimensions that I'm measuring, it sits above the actual dimension line that they refer to. This one is in the middle, and it is also switched around to the side. So let me go in here and check, see if I can figure out why it's doing that. And we'll go to modify, and somewhere, see here, above, see, above dimension text. No, that's the arc length. Okay, let's see, text. Here, let's see, horizontal, aligned with dimension line, and we actually want that to be text placement. That might work. View direction, left, right, horizontal centered, vertical above, and I think because we're, let's see what happens here. Oh, there we go. Okay, that straightened it out right there. So that corrected that, and now we're with 37 feet above the line. Alright, so just carry on from there and do your dimensioning. In the next video I will show you my finished dimension product, and then I'll also show you my elevation dimensions. Alright, now here's my finished dimensioned floor plan, and as you see, everything looks nice, neat, and uniform. There's a few adjustments you might have to take when working with your... Say again? Yeah, go ahead. I'm just recording a video. But there is some adjustments that you need to make to your dimensions, namely, it's just can you read your dimensions? Sometimes when you put your dimensioning lines down, it'll put text in places where it may be on top of other text, and you can move that around just by clicking on the text itself. I click on this text or whatever text, and you'll see the little grip show up right here, and then you can move your text anywhere you want to, and to make it readable if necessary. This is my finished floor plan dimensioning. The next one will be my elevation dimensioning, and that's a little bit easier. Not as much going on there as we would have here with the floor plan dimensioning. So good luck with that. If you have any questions, just let me know. Alrighty, thank you very much. Good luck.